Let me begin by using this word history. When we split this word into two, it becomes his story. Whose story is it that we like to share? It is the story of Jesus. It is his story that has unfolded to us from one generation to another. In the early 1920s, the port known to us as Port Klang was once famously called Port St.Anne. During the colonial times, and as it was the focal entry point to Malaysia by sea, in no time it became a center for trade and commerce. It became a very busy place. Klang at that time was the terminus of the government railway and also the port of the state. It began to attract job seekers from everywhere, and soon new settlers initiated the growth of the local residents. Slowly and surely, a small number of the lay faithful began to actively take part in our faith life. The foreigners who were Catholics, the local priests who were actively involved, had contributed so much to the community and to this town. The local priests and foreign priests have met and journeyed with the local community, nurturing them with the Eucharist and the Word of God, not forgetting their outreach programs for the poor and the marginalized. What we are about to witness from now for the following slides is about the story of Jesus, whom our brothers and sisters had shared during their lifetime. The story of Jesus is basically the story of mission. It is a story of how a local community many years ago had initiated to respond to this call, the call to continue the story of Jesus. Yes, this is the story of Jesus. Let us listen attentively and ponder the inspirations our early fathers had in these communities.
The early history of the Catholic Church in Port Klang, formerly known as Port St.Anne, could be traced back to the late 1920s. The priests in charge of the West Selangor districts of Kuala Selangor, Kuala Langat and Klang also took care of the spiritual welfare of the Catholic community at Port St.Anne, who are predominantly Indians and worked as port and railway workers. A small minority was from the other races. Masses were said at a shop lot along Jalan Camp, known as the Chapel of St. Paul the Hermit. In 1934, the chapel, which could accommodate between 80 to 100 worshippers, was relocated to Jalan Padang. The chapel was rededicated as the Chapel of St.Anne, with weekly masses being said. The feast of St.Anne was celebrated at the chapel on a Sunday following 26th of July. As the Catholic population increased, there was a need for a new church building, which was completed in 1961 and was officially blessed and opened on the 30th of July 1961 by the first Bishop of Kuala Lumpur, His Grace Tan Sri Dominic Vandagan.
As soon as the new church was completed, Bishop Dominic Vandagan entrusted the parish of St.Anne to the Capuchin missionaries. The Capuchins who served the parish then were Father Dennis, Father Athanasius, Brother Reginald, Father Montfort, and Father John of the Cross. During the term of Father John of the Cross, the construction of the first kindergarten, now known as the Formation Room, was constructed in 1964. A grotto dedicated in honor of Our Lady of Fatima was also built in 1964 by Reverend Father John. Before Vatican Council II, the Mass was always said with the priest facing the wall. The original altar where the priest faced the wall was dismantled. In its place, a new altar was constructed where the priest could now face the congregation when celebrating the Eucharist. The new altar, together with the mosaic design of the Last Supper in the background, imported from Japan, was completed in 1965. Before Vatican Council II, proposals were implemented in stages. In early 1965, Masses were celebrated in Latin. Only the sermons were either in English or in the respective vernacular language. Active participation of the congregation in the liturgy was minimal. This was the practice until the middle of 1965, when English gradually replaced Latin during the Eucharistic celebration.
Reverend Father Navaratnam was sent as a missionary from Sri Lanka to Malaysia in 1965, where he spent the next 15 years serving the people. During his tenure at St. Anne's Church, Port Klang, Father Navaratnam took great pains to fulfill the needs of the parishioners and touched the lives of many through the personal interest he showed in people's problems. He spent much time visiting the homes of the parishioners, particularly the poor, the aged, the sick, and disabled. He cared a great deal for seafarers, meeting them and celebrating Mass on ships. The Stella Maris Community Center was constructed in 1979 during Father Navaratnam's term of office to cater for the needs of seafarers and parishioners as well. The parochial house, which is the residence of the parish priest and provides rest and accommodation for visiting priests, was also completed in 1979. From July 1961 to July 1966, the feast of St. Anne was celebrated with novena and Mass over a 3-day period. The 9-day novena, culminating in a candlelight procession, was introduced in July 1967. In August 1976, the Aggiornamento was held in Penang, where all the priests of West Malaysia attended a month-long meeting. At this meeting, it was decided that priority be given to the formation of Christ-centered basic communities. During the absence of our parish priest, Eucharistic ministers were appointed to conduct Liturgy of the Word and Communion service on Sundays. Father Navaratnam left for the Philippines in March 1980.
After Father Navaratnam left, Reverend Father Benedict Savarimutu, parish priest of Our Lady of Lourdes, Klang, became administrator of St. Anne's Church, Port Klang, until the arrival of Father Solomon Raj from India in December 1981, who then became the parish priest. During his tenure as parish priest, he was very much involved in charismatic prayer groups and conducting Bible classes. In July 1986, the Church of St.Anne celebrated its Silver Jubilee. In December 1987, His Grace Anthony Sauter Fernandez, the Archbishop of Kuala Lumpur, arrived at the parish on his first pastoral visit, which lasted 5 days.
Father Solomon left for Batang Berjuntai in January 1988, and once more, Reverend Father Benedict Savrimuthu resumed the duties of parish administrator. It was during Father Benedict's term of office that upgrading of the sanctuary, the altar, was carried out. During this period, a program known as the New Image of the Parish was introduced to inject new life into the building of the basic ecclesial communities, BECs. It was later known as the Parish Renewal Seminar, PRS. The aim was to build up the Christian communities through a more caring and compassionate attitude towards others. After Reverend Father Benedict was transferred to Kapong in February 1991, Reverend Father Leonard John, the parish priest of Our Lady of Lourdes, Klang, was appointed the administrator of St. Anne's Church from March 1991 until December 1995. Reverend Father Leonard John was assisted by Reverend Father Raymond Pereira and Reverend Father Patrick Goodwill.
Reverend Father Eugene Benedict was appointed parish priest in December 1995. After 6 months, he was transferred to Klang as parish priest of Our Lady of Lourdes, Klang, as well as the administrator of St. Anne's Port Klang and Gereja Catholic Fatima Banting. During his stay here, Reverend Father Eugene Benedict was well known for organizing relief efforts for the victims of the civil war in East Timor in 1998. He also looked after the welfare of the Sabahan immigrants working in the nearby factories by meeting them on the weekends and coming to know their needs. For the benefit of the seafarers, he celebrated Mass on board the ships. These efforts were in response to the Church's call for a more human and compassionate attitude towards refugees and migrants by providing them with a more dignified life. In 1998, Reverend Father Simon Lebroy was ordained a deacon in this church. In 1999, the twin ordination to the diaconate of Reverend Father Albert Arokesami and Father Terence Thomas was also held at St. Anne's Church. After Father Eugene left Port Klang, Reverend Father Gerard Teravium, who became parish priest of Our Lady of Lourdes, was also appointed administrator of St. Anne's Church, Port Klang, from November 2001 to May 2002. He was assisted by Reverend Father Terence Thomas and Reverend Father Dionysius Matthew.
Reverend Father V.A. Michael was appointed the parish priest in 2002. He was a committed worker in the Lord's vineyard, traveling to the far-flung and remote corners like Sepang, Salak Tinggi, and Banting to celebrate the Eucharist. Following the transfer of Father V.A. Michael in November 2005, the pastoral needs of the parishioners were attended to by Reverend Father Lawrence Andrew. He was assisted by the late Reverend Father Anthony Chan. During this period, the parish was taken care by a caretaker committee. Reverend Father Lawrence Andrew was made the administrator of the Church of St.Anne in December 2006, and later, in August 2007, he was appointed as the parish priest. After his appointment as parish priest, improvements were made to the church building so that it could have a bigger seating capacity and enable the sick, the disabled, and the elderly to worship in safety and comfort. The Stella Maris Community Center underwent major renovation and repairs. A new kindergarten building to foster excellence in preschool education was completed in June 2010. Father Lawrence also conducted the Bible in 100 Weeks program, which attracted a good number of participants. The Golden Jubilee of St.Anne's Church was celebrated in July 2011. After the major reshuffle in 2015, Reverend Father Paulino Miranda was appointed parish priest in May 2015. He served the needs of the parishioners and at the same time travelled to the outskirts to take care of the Orang Asli settlements. He also started the prison ministry. After Father Paulino left, Monsignor Mitchell Anthony was appointed parish priest in December 2017. Monsignor Mitchell has conducted several Bible classes and formation programs in addition to his heavy responsibilities as Vicar General of the Archdiocese.
As we go through the historical events whereby our Catholic community in St.Anne has played an important role to what the church is today. It is really awesome to see from those years, for several years, how individuals and groups have contributed their lives for the faith of the church. We recall all that they have done and we acknowledge all they have done in the name of God for the good of humanity and creation. And if you go through the Old Testament, you see that God reveals His unique love, His unconditional love to the human race and each individual person, regardless of race, culture, and religion. This love of God that has become flesh and has dwelt among us and continues to dwell among us is the very mission of God to humanity. When you see God at work in the divine figure of Jesus, then we are able to come to a fuller understanding of God's love. The story of Jesus moving around us, bringing light, bringing healing, tolerance and mercy, and giving us hope, especially in times when we were hopeless. It also gives us a glimpse of God's love and His purpose to humanity. In the past, our brothers and sisters, including priests, have responded to this love, to this call. And during this time, they had echoed and enriched others with the story of Jesus. Does this story end here? No, my dear friends. The story of Jesus never ends. It continues from one generation to the next. You and I today are part of that story. It is our responsibility to continue this story not only for us but for the next generation to come. A story that brings us together, unites us together, and makes us a community. It is really amazing to see how this mission, the mission of God, continued in the life of Jesus, continued with the apostles, continued with the early Christians, today continues with all the baptized. We are all baptized and sent to continue the story of Jesus in our lives. Dear friends, it is not only to proclaim Christ to others, but also to be a witness of Jesus to others. Others will look at us and say, these are people who are Christ-like. Like Pope Francis who said, I am mission always. You are mission always. Every baptized man and woman is a mission. And so finally, my dear brothers and sisters, I appeal to all those who have left their faith, left the church for one reason or another. And I appeal to you, come back and join us as we continue the story of Jesus today in our lifetime. God bless you.